the very interesting online workshop, and which will be a very enriching experience for our students. We have Dr. ALWIN Poulos with us, who is from IISER Thiruvananthapuram. So to start with our invited lecture series, I would now like to request our principal, sir, to please share his views with us. Sir, please.
Good morning to you all. Thank you, Nivedita ma'am, our coordinator of the scheme. And good morning to Dr. ALWIN Poulos, my dear student, research scholar, and the participants from Kerala and other areas that has been already shared by Dr. Paulin. So this is a very golden opportunity for the undergraduate students, as I mentioned earlier, that you will interact with Dr. Paulin in the coming session. And this is the workshop has been organized program in such a way so that you can, that means interact in different fields of your specialization subject. So later on, we have one lecture series, then online lecture series and workshop. Then so many facets are there under the scheme. And despite his busy schedule, Dr. Paulin has agreed to share his vast experience in the field of his specialization. And I, on behalf of the entire college family, must acknowledge you and my sincere gratitude and regards to you also. And one thing is that students be patient when he deliver his lectures and after completion of the seminar. So please write your whatever the queries in your mind in the chat box. Ma'am will extend all sorts of cooperation to you. But the thing is that the program is meant for you. Okay. So please utilize your resource person. This is my one tagline to you. So, with this thing, I once again my sincere gratitude and heartfelt thanks to ALWIN Poulos, and over to Madam. Thank you so much. I wish a grand success of this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. So let me give a minute to introduce our enriched resource person. Dr. ALWIN Poulos received the BSc degree in Computer Maintenance and Electronics from the Union Christian College, Ayodhya, India in 2012. The MSc degree in Electronics from the MES College affiliated to Mahatma Gandhi University, Marampalli in 2014, and the MTech degree in Communication Systems from Christ University, Bengaluru in 2017, and the PhD degree in Electronics and Electrical Engineering from Kyungpook National University, Daegu, South Korea in 2021. From 2021 to 2022, he was a researcher with the Center for ICT and Automobile Convergence, Kyungpook National University, where he developed a localization and mapping system for autonomous vehicles. He was a research fellow with the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, University of Michigan, Dearborn, and he has been an assistant professor with the School of Data Science, Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, since January 2023. His research interests include localization, human activity recognition, facial emotion recognition, and human behavior prediction. He is a reviewer of prominent engineering and science international journals and has served as a technical program committee member and session chairing at several international conferences. We are very happy to have you, sir. So I would now like to request, sir, to please go on with the technical session. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you. So first I will share my slides. So now the slides are visible?
Yes, sir. They are visible.
Yeah, in the full screen, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So we can start. So first of all, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. It's my pleasure to share my knowledge and idea, something related to how to write a research article. So my name is Dr. ALWIN Poulos. You already got an introduction about my research background, my academic journey and research experience. So currently I'm Assistant Professor, School of Data Science, Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Thiruvananthapuram. So during this talk, first I would like to introduce the topic called Mastering the Art of Research Paper Writing. So mainly, the idea behind this talk is to give some basics of how to write a research article. What are the main concept or content we can use, or get a small spark in your future studies also, when the stage when you come to write a paper or write your thesis. So first, what is like mainly scientific writing? So means to us. So a scientific experiment is not complete until the results have been published and understood. So that is the very common. Even if you have results, or if you did experiments and everything, but it should be scientifically written. Then only it should be reproducible, and the other generation or the other people can read it, understand it, and work on that and update the system or your idea. So a scientific paper is a written and published report describing original research results. So that's basically we can named as a scientific writing. Basically, it is a written and published report mainly describing what exactly our research results or our experiments or methodology, whatever the contents or our key idea. So here I can give some definition about like basically what is scientific writing. The purpose of scientific writing is to communicate new scientific findings. So most probably, the research articles mainly the main motivation is to communicate our idea or our scientific results to the research community world. So thus it has to be clear. That is the first point we have to think about, that it has to be clear, it has to be simple and well ordered communication to transmit new scientific finding. So there should be some the first thing always we have to think about, like the scientific writing must use proper English, which gives the sense in the fewest short words. So it should not be elaborate, it should be a summary, but it should be meaningful, it should be clear, it should be well, and it should be well ordered. There should be some proper structure for our scientific writing. So before diving to writing, like it's very important or it's crucial to understand your topic thoroughly. So that is the first thing. Whatever the research or research topic you are working, the first key point is that you have to be thoroughly understand what exactly going on with your research trends, or what are the past things happen in the research topic, present things, and what is the future things is going in the your research domain. So first thing normally everyone do is like conduct a preliminary research to identify the key themes and questions. So literature review, in technically we can call it as a literature review. So you have to read some papers or some books or whatever things related to your research domain. Then ask some questions. So all these this research domain, what are the some contribution or some point we can think about. So from that ask some questions. Mainly this question later we convert it as a our hypothesis. Then based on this hypothesis we were trying to address these questions, like proposing some idea or addressing some challenges. So based on that, that will be our methodology, and then we validate the system with some experiment results. Then finally we do the discussions and summarize our all our findings in the name of conclusion. So these are the same some procedure we can say regarding when we start writing into a research article. So mainly this foundational knowledge will guide your argumentation and ensure your paper is both focused and relevant. So that is the key terms you always remember. The paper should be focused. It's a technical paper. If you're writing, it should be very focused and it should be relevant to the research community. So idea. So when crafting a short thesis, there should be some key statement, or mainly we can say your thesis statement is the heart of your paper. So any research article, if you consider, there should be a key point or a key statement, normally we can say, that will define your overall idea of your research. So a strong thesis not only guide your writing, but also engages your audience, making them eager to explore your arguments and findings. So the key idea is like you have to summarize your entire research contribution or research idea into a single statement. So every paper, there should be some key idea. Then rest of things we will develop based on this key idea. So choosing the right methodology is the another important thing for gathering credible data. So whether it is qualitative or quantitative or mixed method, ensure you select an approach that aligns with your research goals and enhance the validity of your finding. So methodology is the heart of, I can say, the heart of our scientific paper. So that's what normally we can say our major contribution or our key idea is explained in the proper manner. So that should address your research goal and should validate your problem statement. Then a well-structured paper consists of an introduction, then body and conclusion. So in the future slides, I will explain more details about how to write introduction part, how to write the abstract, and the further how to write the methodology materials and etc. And finally, how to write the conclusion session also. So there is some structure in all scientific paper normally everyone should follow. So I will explain how the basic structure of writing a paper and everything in the future slides. So here you can say like each session should flow logically with a clear transition that get the reader. So there should be some logical flow. The structure should be properly written in the paper, and there should be some clear transition from one section to the other section, and that should be understandable to the readers. So this structure not only enhance readability but also strengthen your argument. So the key point is that there should be some proper flow, or there should be some structure to your scientific paper. So developing arguments, so mainly how to develop the arguments or the hypotheses and everything. So that is the one step we always think about that. So your argument should be supported by the evidence from credible sources. So in mainly the sources in the sense here we use the data or codes and examples to back up your claims. So this is not only adds depth to your writing, but also build trust with your audience. So that is the key idea. You always think about that. You have to come with some arguments or the hypothesis from then. So to validate that one, you have to use some sources. Mainly, it should be credible sources. That's something like the data. If it's something like an experiment-oriented research, there should be credible data. The data supports all your statements, then you should validate that. Then after that, see also you have to build a trust with your audience. So whatever things you are claiming in your paper, it should be trustable and it should be reproducible to the research community. Editing and revising. So every time, so like the editing and revising process is where your paper truly transform. So look for clarity, coherence, and grammar. So these are the main key point every time you have to remember when you start writing the paper. So consider seeking feedback from peers to gain fresh perspective and enhance the overall quality of your work. So the peer review process I will explain the later. How when your paper is ready, when you try to submit to a journal, what are the procedure normally exist and what are the methods you have to follow. So in that time I can explain what exactly this peer review process is impacting our scientific paper and how it will be enhance our quality of the work. So mainly always remember it's a editing and revising is the part of the scientific writing. So if from my personal experience I can say when my first paper when I published in 2019 the first draft, then I wrote the first draft, then revising. I started with the version 1. Then almost, if I remember, I did the revision more than 35 times. So I was communicating with my supervisor and he was giving some suggestions. And again, we did the revision. So almost 35th or 36th versions only we submitted into the journal. Again, we had 3 to 4 reviewers. They gave the comments, and again we did a couple of times revision. So if I remember, the 14th version of my paper is now currently publicly available. That was my first paper I published. So editing and revision is the part of, like we always do this as part of when we write the scientific paper. Then citing source properly. So this we will discuss in the future. This is also part of how to cite the references. So in the later slides, I will give a proper explanation, the proper way of citing the references. Then formatting your paper. So there are it's most important. the paper should be scientific paper should be attractive. It should be properly aligned, and pay attention to margins, font size, and spacing. These are all very important. A well formatted paper not only looks professional but also makes it easier for readers to engage with your content. So it's very important. So this formatting, normally currently what we do is that currently we use the LaTeX tool. So research tool, I added some research tool explanation in the later slides. So that time I can give more idea. The best option to do the formatting and everything is the LaTeX. So if you are using LaTeX, most of these things can easily solve. So formatting your paper is also a very important things you have to consider when you write the scientific paper. Then preparing for submission. So before submission, ensure all components of your paper are complete. Double check your references and confirm that your paper meets all guidelines. So every journal, they have their own guidelines, and we should strictly follow whatever the guidelines they're written in their journal's website. So a thorough review can make a significant difference in this success of your submission. So these are some general consideration you have to think when you submit a paper. So until now, I gave a overall idea about some concept about scientific paper. So now from here onwards, I would like to share the definition, from the definition to stage and session by session. Then at last we do with some research tools and some abstract index and some further details about scientific writing. So first, definition of scientific paper, we already discussed this. So a proper definition, we can say that an accepted original scientific publication containing scientific information to enable peers to assess observation. First point you have to think about that. To repeat experiment, to evaluate intellectual processes, must have an impact, available to scientific community without restriction, then available for regular screening by one or more of the major recognized secondary services. So something like biological abstract or index medias or PubMed. So this journal indexing we will discuss later. So here one more point is that available to scientific community without restriction. So this point, these days most of the journals are open access. So without a journal subscription or without payment, we cannot access some of the journals. So that subscription is one restrictions when we think about some scientific paper. So if suppose if you are reading a explore, so if you don't have IEEE membership or IEEE subscription, the paper is not publicly available. So that restriction all researchers we face. That is one scenario. So some important language point also you can think about. So when you start writing, the first thing about always remember or always keep in your mind, poor experimentation cannot be masked by brilliant writing. However, like poor writing can mask brilliant experimentation. So these are some points you always keep in your mind. Then most simple thing is that like maximum try to avoid complex sentence structure. So then use simple and clear English. Always keep in mind that the paragraph is the essential unit of thought. So it must be clear, simple, try to avoid complex sentence structures and use very simple and clear English. Then some origin of scientific writing. So knowledge is lost without written records. That is the main key idea. So why we have to write the scientific paper. So first, like cave painting and inscriptions were the first attempts to leave records. Then about 2000 BC, papyrus paper was used as a medium of communication. Then 190 BC, parchments made from animal skins came to use. Then 105 AD, the Chinese invented paper. So from then onwards, most of things are like the knowledge could not be widely circulated with no effective duplication. So then 1100 AD, the Chinese invented movable type. Then 1455 AD, the Gutenberg printed his 40-line Bible from movable type on a printing press. So from there onwards, like from the year 1500, thousands of copies of hundreds of books were printed. Then in 1665, the first scientific journal were published. So the first scientific paper published in 1665. So these are the some origins of scientific writing. Then before starting to write the paper, there's some parameter or some points you always keep in your mind. So always record your readings. Reading in the sense, it's like most probably it's your experiment result. Then make tables, draw graphs. Then always keep file to record summarize of results and any observation, however significant. So always properly arrange your results, your findings and everything. Also always keep the date and files. So that is also most important thing. Revise your reading. You may need to repeat an experiment while you still have the material. So repeating the experiment is also another factor you always consider. Then write ideas whenever they come to you. So that is also, I always practice the same thing. When I read a paper or review a paper, if some spark or some research idea come to my mind, I always write in my paper or write in a notepad. So I always track the scientific ideas in always with me. So when the time comes, I try to study on further details about these scientific ideas. So there is a IMRAD story. Normally we follow most of the scientific papers. You can see this IMRAD story is there. So what is that? That means like introduction, that I, then methods M, then R stands for results and discussions. Then these are the, then finally conclusion is also you can consider. So most of the journal follow this IMRAD story. So what is that? Like early journals publish descriptive papers, like still used in case reports, geological surveys, etc. So that is like mainly a descriptive paper. But by the second half of the 19th century, reproducibility of experiment became a fundamental principle of the philosophy of science. So in that case, we have to be introduced about method section. So the key idea is like reproduce our experiments or results. So in that scenario, so like the method section became all important. Then IMRAD organization of a scientific papers started to develop. So the IMRAD format slowly progressed in the later half of the 19th century. So most of the research article, if you read or if you study, you can see at least minimum these are the some sessions parameters they consider. So IMRAD format, so you will have introduction. So mainly introduction, mainly what question or problem was studied, then methods. So mainly similar in the introduction also you try to write the research gap. What was the research gap we had? Then also aim of the study. Then the materials and method section. So here mainly you can see that the study objects, materials, participants, preparation of objects or materials or selection of participants, study design, intervention or most probably the experiments, method of measurement or calculation, statistical analysis. So there will be a results. So mainly result section, what are the findings? So most important or first results, other result in specific order, least important or last result. So mainly state of the art comparison, most of the cases we do in the result session. Then the discussion. So in the discussion, like statement of main result, we had to discuss what is the reason our system or our approach is performing better than the state of the art system or conventional approaches. Then what was our expected or unexpected result. So in some cases also we have to discuss about the limitation of our system. So why the system is not performing well in all scenarios, or our idea is not suitable for in a general system, or some cases the system will be a failure. So we have to clearly explain that one. In comparison with the literature, that's most probably we call it as a state of art SOTA comparison. Then explanation of result, limitation, that's already I discussed. Then generalizability. Then finally conclusion. So some cases you can write the conclusion as a separate session. So these are the general IMRAD format when you write a scientific paper. So organization of a paper. So mainly the most common is IMRAD, we already discussed. In some cases, like if a number of methods were used to achieve directly related results. So in that case, methodology and result section together, like you can write as a experimental section. and the results are so complex that are need to be immediately discussed, then you can write as a results plus discussion together as a one section. Then essential part of a scientific paper, so there should be title. So most important thing, title should describe concisely the core content of the paper. Then the abstract, so what is abstract? Mainly summarize the major elements of the paper. Then the introduction, so mainly provide context and rationale for the study. Then materials mainly describes the experimental design, so it is reproducible. Then methods describe the experimental procedures. Then results summarize the finding without interpretation. Then discuss about your findings. Then summarize your finding. Then acknowledgement, like give credits to who helped you or some funding agency details and everything. Then references, so list all scientific papers, books, website, whatever you used to for you preparing this scientific paper. So here you can see the essential part of a scientific paper in a more extended version rather than IMRAD. So here you have the topic or mainly title that should be creative, then it should be attractive. We will discuss more details about how to write a title. Then abstract. So abstract is like everything. So it should be overview, informative, standalone. Then there should be research keyword should be used in there. Then also it should be novelty should be discussed there. It should be short. It should be 200 to 250 or maximum 300 words. And the purpose of the study, brief contribution. And also you have to discuss about the structure of the paper, or what are the things, what are the data set you used, what are the methodology or approach you are proposing. A brief description, everything should be less than 250 words. It should be summarized in the abstract. Then introduction. So in the introduction, most important thing is like you have to ask 3 questions: what, why, how. So these 3 questions should address in the introduction section. So mainly you can think about like summary of proposal or the contribution, novelty, itemize. Mainly the contributions you can write in a bullet format. Then summary of chapters, that mainly the rest of the paper is organized as follows. Section 2 discuss about related works. Section 3 presents our methodology. Section 4-5 experiment results, and section 6 conclusion. So this type of structure, like the rest of the paper, how we organized, also you have to discuss at the last of introduction section. Then also introduction should consider the research aim, research question, research objective. So it's very important. You should cover all this parameter in your introduction session. Then next is literature review. So literature review, always like previous work, you should find a research gap by doing the literature review. Then why, how. So these are the 2 questions. Normally you have to think in the literature review section. So find a so mainly in this case, like literature in the topic, literature on the method, theoretical approaches. So these are the some concept you can think in the literature review session. So here the last paragraph of the literature, you should discuss about how our approach or how our system is different from state of the art, or what are the significant contribution we already discussed in the introduction, but we have to summarize how our system is overcoming the challenges faced by the previous research or previous work. So that's the key idea of writing literature review. Then the methodology. So methodology is like the heart of our paper. So this is the main thing, like most important thing in our research article. So mainly here we discuss about like how the system works. So mainly we discuss about like algorithm, step by steps, or some human subject review, or feature selection or accuracy, cost and funding details, the census used in the study, or participants, how many participants involved. Then research design, then some figures or block diagram or system overview, data collection procedure, then data analysis, exploratory data analysis. This type of points you have to consider in the methodology session. Then preliminary data, mainly result section. So here you have to compare result, comparative analysis with your base paper or baseline. Then relationship and important category, Also evidence of importance, like then preliminary finding, also ablation study also you can think about in the result section. So mainly in the ablation study, what it means is like mainly changes some parameters in your system, like if it is a architecture or if it is a algorithm, what are the parameters influence the performance of the system, that also you can validate in the your result section. Then the discussion. So in the discussion section, you should discuss mainly present like comparison of hypothesis, then interpretation of results, then unexpected results if you have something, relevance of the field, answer research questions. What are the hypotheses we try to discuss in the introduction section? Try to address all these questions in the discussion section. Then the next one is statement of limitation. So here, what is the limitation? Your research phases or the weakness, or what are the alternative approaches you can discuss in the state of limitation section. Then conclusion. So what, how, and why. So here is like importance, the contribution explained. So how much accurate our system, or how much performance we improved. So this type of the things you can consider in the conclusion section. Then last is like references and bibliography. So cite and uncited. So that we have to cite most of our research articles, whatever the things we used in our studies. So this is the overall essential part of a scientific paper. So next, I will give a key idea or some description about individually how the title and how you can think about what are the points you have to remember when you create a title or when you form a title, abstract, and the further section. So title. So first thing is that title should be very attractive. It should be give the overall idea about your paper. So a good title is defined as the fewest possible words. That is always keep in your mind. The title try to be very short. Then that adequately describe the content of the paper. So that is the key point. Always remember when you think about title of your paper. It's the most important thing. Most of the cases, the other researchers or other scholars, they mainly search the keywords only, research keywords only. So in that case, our paper should be visible to the seekers. So I'm in the research community. So title is the most important, title and abstract. So the title is extremely important and must be chosen with a great care. And it will be read by thousands, whereas few will read the entire paper. So that is the key point you always remember. Then indexing and abstracting of the paper depends on the accuracy of the title. That is also another important case you have to think. An improperly titled paper will get lost and will never be read. So you will not get further studies or citation in your paper if your title is not a proper, or if it is not properly titled. So the title should neither be too short or too long to be a meaningless. So waste weight. So always think about, don't use studies on, investigation on, a and the etc. should not be used in your title. Try to avoid maximum this type of words in your title. Syntax. So word order must be very carefully considered. It should contain the keywords. So that is also always think about that. If you're working in some research topic, that a research keyword should be in your title that reflect the contents of the paper. It should be meaningful and not general. That is also another. It should be more specific. It should not be a general title. It should be concise, specific, and informative. It should capture the fundamental nature of the experiments and findings. So these are the some parameters or some points you always consider when you formulate the title of your paper. Then some example I can share. Then action of antibiotics on bacteria. So action should be defined. Then antibiotics should be listed and bacteria should be listed. So here you can see here is the research work is action of antibiotics on bacteria. That is very general. So you can see some titles, like you can see like mechanism of suppression of non-transmission and pneumonia in the mice induced by Newcastle disease virus. So this title will give more explanation about the research work. Similar some other titles. So these are some example I can share. And how to prepare the title. Make a list of the most important keywords. That is for first thing. Then think of a title that contains these words. The title could state the conclusion of the paper. The title never contain abbreviation. Always keep in mind, we don't never use abbreviation in your title. Never use any chemical formulas or property names or jargon. Never use this type of contents in your title. Rethink of the title before submitting the paper. Be very careful for the grammatical errors due to faulty word order. Then also always keep in mind, try to avoid the use of the word using in your title. So try to maximum avoid the word using in your title. Then next is abstract. So here, like, an abstract can be defined as a summary of the information in your document. It is of fundamental importance that the abstract be written clearly and simply. Then it is the first and sometimes the only part of the manuscript read most of the cases. So then it should provide a brief summary of each of the main sections, like we already explained. So what will be happening in the abstract, like state the principle, objective and scope of the investigation, describe the methods used, summarize the results, and state the principal conclusions. Then finally, it is easier to write the abstract after completing of the paper. So normally we practice something like the writing abstract we do at the end of the paper writing. So that will give more clear idea about abstract writing. So some criteria. So previously I mentioned that abstract should not be exceed 250 words. It should be a summary. It should be written in one paragraph. So never use multiple paragraphs in abstract. It should be written in the past tense. Always remember, it should be in past tense as it refers to work done. The long word should be followed by its abbreviation, which should be used throughout the abstract and paper. So don't skip or don't avoid the abbreviation in abstract. It's also clearly mentioned in the abstract. It should not cite any references. Also, some rare cases, most of the from my research experience also, we never cite any references in the abstract. It should never give any information or conclusion that is not stated in the paper. That is also another important parameter you have to consider. There must be accurate with the respective figures quoted in the main text. So these are the some criteria when writing abstract. Then next is introduction. So the introduction should answer the following question. I already discussed about this. So what was I studying? Why was this an important question? What did I know about this topic before I did this study? What model was I testing? And what approach did I take in this study? So these are some general questions, or based on the research domain or the research topic you are work. There will be some changes, but generally we follow this type of questions. Then based on this, we write the introduction session. So suggested rule for a good introduction, mainly it should present the nature and scope of the problem investigated, review the pertinent literature, state the method of investigation, then state the principal results of the investigation, state the principal conclusion suggested by the result. So these are the some methods, some rules you can follow for writing a good introduction. Then general use rules. So mainly use the present tense. So always keep in mind the abstract was in the past tense, but introduction normally we write in the present tense when referring to work that has already been published, but past tense when referring to own study. So always keep in this in your mind when you write a paper. Then use the active voice as much as possible. Avoid lengthy or unfocused reviews of previous research. Cite peer-reviewed scientific literature or scholarly reviews. Avoid general reference work such as textbooks. So maximum try to avoid textbook. If it is necessary, then only try to use. Otherwise, try to avoid the textbook as a references. Then define any specialized terms or abbreviations. So always keep in mind the abbreviation we define the abstract, but in introduction, again you have to define the abbreviations. So how to write the materials and method section. So here you can see like provide full details so that the experiments are reproducible. So that's always keep in mind, whatever things you write in your scientific paper, some other person should recreate it. They have to start working on that. They have to update the system, or they have to improve the performance of the system what we proposed. So if the peer review has doubt that the experiments could be repeated, the manuscript will be rejected. That is always happening. So always keep in mind, like when you write the materials and method section, the experiments should be reproducible. Then organize the method under subheading. with the related methods described together, something like subject, experiment design, measurement, or hormonal assays, etc. Then describe the experimental design in detail. Do not mix some of the result in this section. So maximum try to avoid your results in the material and method section. Here mainly we talk about our approach, algorithms, and scientific details. The maximum we try to avoid the results, try to avoid to add the results in this section, right in the past tense. So the experiments and everything we did, so always keep in mind materials and method section, always write in the past tense. Then materials. So materials like must identify accurately experimental animals or plants and microorganisms used by genus or species and strain. So the source of subjects studied, number of individuals in each groups used, or their sex, age, and weight must be clearly stated. So these are the some points. Or if the human subjects are used, the criteria for selection should be described and consent also should be explained. For chemicals used, include exact technical specification and source or method of preparation. Avoid the use of trade names of chemical. Generic or chemical names are preferred in the material session. So these are the some points you can consider when you write the material session. Then method section. This part of the manuscript must be clear, precise, and concise so that it can be reproducible. If the method is new, all detail must be provided. If the method has been previously published in a scientific journal, only the reference should be given with some identification. So here you can see some example. Cells were broken by ultrasonic treatment as previously described by the work. So preferable than cells were broken as previously described by. So this one example you can say. So you can, if already published work, you can use the references. Then questions such as how or how much must be answered and not left to be puzzled over. So this always keep in your mind. Method used for statistical analysis must be mentioned. Ordinary ones without comments, but advanced or unusual ones require literature citation. So these are the some of the parameters you have to think about considering the method section. Then how to write the result. So result section written in the past tense, always keep in mind. Then it is the core or heart of the paper. It needs to be clearly and simply stated since it constitutes the new knowledge contribute to the world. So the purpose of this section is to summarize and illustrate the finding in an ordinary and logical sequence without interpretation. The text should guide the reader through the findings, stressing the major points. Do not describe methods that have already been described in the materials and method section or that have been advertently omitted. So these are some parameters always keep in your mind when you write the result section. Methods of presenting the data, that is very important. We have the option to present the data as a text, then in table, then in figure. So always keep in mind, even if you your text, always keep in the mind like whatever the result is shown in the table, it should be clearly specified in the text also. So the text should mention the table and clearly explain what are the result or what are the findings from the table. So same for figure also. So if you are showing a result, it should be mentioned in the figure 1 shows the result of experiments. Then it should be clearly specify what are the observation from the figure. All figures and table must be accompanied by a textual presentation. That's what I previously mentioned of the key finding. Never have a table or figure that is not mentioned in the text. So always keeping this in our mind. Tables and figures. So tables are appropriate for large or complicated data sets that would be difficult to explain clearly in text. Then figures are appropriate for data sets that exhibit trends, pattern, or relationship that are best conveyed visually. Any table or figure must be sufficiently described by its title. Always keep in mind the figure should have title and then caption or legends and to be understandable without reading the main text of the result section. That is always keep in mind. So just always keep in the mind like when you are showing the figure, without reading the text from the manuscript, you have to understand what is the meaning of that figure or what the observation you can get from the figures. So do not include both a table and a figure showing the same information. So some cases I can, when I review the paper, I can always see the table, they just show us a figure also. So that practice is not a proper approach. Try to avoid this way of writing. Then how to write the discussion? It is the hardest section to write. Its primarily purpose is to show the relationship among observed fact. It should end with a short summary or conclusion regarding the significance of the work. So that is also always keep in mind in writing the discussion section. So components of the discussion section. Here the first one is try to present the principles, relationships, and generalization shown by the result. Then point out any exceptions or any lack of corrections and define unsettled points. That is also you have to consider. Then show how your results and interpretations agree or contrast with the previously published work. Then discuss the theoretical implications of your work and any possible practical application. State your conclusions and as clearly as possible. Summarize your evidence for each conclusion. So these are the 5 components normally we can consider when you write the discussion section. So 6 questions to answer in discussion section. So first one is like, what is different in your finding compared to previous research? What is similar in your finding compared to previous research? How different sections of your result session correlate? What are the implications of your findings for practitioners? What are the implications of your finding for researchers? And last, what are the limitation or the threats to the validity of your findings? So these are the some questions we can keep in our mind when we write the discussion section. Then how to state the acknowledgement, most probably the last one. So you should acknowledge what are the things you can consider, like any significant technical help that you have received from any individual in your lab or elsewhere. This also special equipment or some cultures or any other material, any outside financial assistance such as grants, contracts, or fellowship. Then do not use the word wish, simply write I thank and not I wish to thank. So try to avoid this type of statement in the acknowledgement. Show the proposed wording of the acknowledgement to the person who help you are acknowledging. So that is also one practice normally we do. Then the last portion of scientific writing is the references. So most importantly, carefully, and it's time consuming, depends on the number of references. So what is referencing? Reference is a standardized way of acknowledging the source of information and ideas that you have used in your document. So a list of all the references used in the text must be written. So always keep in mind the references, whatever you're using, it should be mentioned in your manuscript. The reference format varies widely. So there are different types of format like Harvard format or alphabet number system or other citation order. I will show some examples this format. So here, like in text citation, normally one is like in name and year system. There is one format normally we follow. So citation in the text is followed by the author's last name and year of publication between the parentheses. If there were 2 authors, then both last names are written. More author's name is written followed by the abbreviation et et al. So if a single statement requires more than one citation, then the references are arranged chronologically from oldest to more recent, separated by the semicolon. Then in alphabet numeric system, citation by numbers from a alphabetically arranged numbered reference system. In citation order system, the references are numbered in the order they are mentioned in the text. So these are the some methods we use as a reference, but mainly we have to follow the journal, the target journal guidelines, how they are following the reference writing. So reference list, any papers not cited in the text should not be included. Always keep in that mind. A reference list allow readers to investigate the subject in greater depth. A reference list contains only the books, articles, and web pages, etc. that are cited in the text of the document. A bibliography includes all sources consulted for background or further reading. So some examples. So here, if you want to cite a book, here is the format. Then the first name. So similar, and the title and where it is published. And similar, if it is a journal or magazine article, you have to with the volume number. You can see the author details and the name of the manuscript of journal. Then where it is published, the name of the journal, then the year and the page number and volume. So newspaper, magazine, or journal articles without volume numbers also, here you can see the format. Then encyclopedia articles also, the formatting is a little bit different. Then similar book, article, or chapter. So here you can see the formatting. And similar ERIC document, you can see. Also website, if you want to cite, that is also another format. And journal article on the internet also, you have to follow some specified format. So then last, I would like to discuss about ethics, rights, and permission. So research ethics, everyone should follow. That is the most important things. So beware of originality and copyrights of the others. Never ever copy anything from anywhere. Try to write by yourself. If you are taking any content, any concept, or anything, give the proper citation. That is the first suggestion I can give. So we strictly follow the research ethics and rights and everything. So in some cases, permissions are needed. So even if you already published a paper, you are transferring your copyright to the publisher. So you cannot reuse it there. In that cases, you have to get some special permission. Also data usage also, if you want to use the data, you have to get special permission. Then repetitive publication of the same data is considered as a plagiarism. That is also always keep in mind. Then these are some parameters we discussed about, like how to write a paper, what are the things you have to consider, what are the things we have to avoid, and finally we have our research article. Then what is next? So we always think about that, like which journal, where to submit, where to publish. These questions always in our mind. So we had to consider some parameter, like is the topic of my paper within its scopes and format in the journal? Would it match my audience? Then always ask with your mentor or other senior researchers like appropriateness by selecting the journal. Another important factor is impact factor. Then consequence of wrong decision, time loss, failure to publish. So these are like some journals will take 6 months to 8 months or 1 year to publish our work. So that is also you have to keep in your mind by selecting a journal. So I would like to give a small idea about calculation of journal impact factor, how they are calculating. So if suppose A is defined as total sites in 2015, then B is defined 2015 sites to article published in 2013 to 40. This is a subset of A you can consider. Then C is defined number of article published in 2013 to 14. So D, the variable D is defined as a impact factor, that is mainly B divided by C, that is calculated as the impact factor of the year 2015. So this is the way how they calculate the impact factor of a journal. So let me give small idea about how the publication process is happening. So you have writing everything we discussed previously. So you have the paper with you. First you go with the author will go with the submission to a journal. Then there will be first assigned to editorial assessment. So the editor will check the initial checking. So there, if the paper doesn't have any contribution or novelty, the editor directly reject the paper. Otherwise, if the editor feels like, okay, the paper has some contribution, the paper has some good quality work, then the editor will send to the reviewers or for some other editors also. Then the peer review process will happen. So the reviewers can directly reject the paper if the quality of the work is not acceptable. Otherwise, they will send for revision. So others will get a revision stage. You have the you will get some points from the some suggestion from the reviewers. You have to update the paper based on the reviewers' comments. Then again a revision, second revision. Then it will again send to the editor. So editor will take the decision, accept or reject. So again they have the option like check whether the paper met the quality of the journal or quality work. Then they will go for accept. Then after acceptance, so proofreading and finally publish. So these are the flow of a research paper publication process. Then previous case I mentioned peer review. So what is peer review? Peer review is the evaluation of work by one or more people of similar competitors to the producers for the work. So peers normally called. So mainly they study our paper. Mainly they review the paper and they will give some suggestions, some comments, some concerns related to the work. So that's what normally we call it a peer review process. So why do we need peer review? Mainly suitability for publication is like true or credible, then reproducible, important, relevant, communicated effectively, novelty, plagiarism. These are the parameters they consider during the peer review process. Then verify and improve the research. That is another motivation, like interpretation of result, reasoning, presentation, critical but constructive feedback, then new or additional ideas. These also are the some reasons like why we consider for peer review process. Then some of the publishers, very popular publishers, I can give some ideas. So very popular, it depends on your research area, your research domain, the publishers are varying. So here you can see IEEE, Elsewhere, Springer, Whaley, ACS, IOP. So just get familiar with this name, then future, whenever you study paper or we plan to submit a paper, think about these publishers. Then journal indexing, another important parameter everyone consider when you submit a paper, journal indexing. So the indexation of a journal is based on some basic publishing standards. Any journals should have the following standards to meet some basic index requirement. So it should provide ISSN number and international standard serial number. Then the digital object identifier DOI should be there, and established publishing schedule and a copyright policy. So these are, let's say you can see some words like PubMed, Clarity Analytics, Google Scholar, then Scopus. So these are the some indexed normally when you consider for submitting a paper. So you are finally almost I am trying to summarize all my discussion. So your paper is worthless if no one reads, use or cite it. So when your paper is like published, the others should read it, cite the paper and reproduce the result. So always keep in that mind when you write a paper. So a research study is meaningful only if it is clearly described. Someone else can use it in his or her studies. It arouses other scientists' interest. So last, like if your paper was rejected, so what will happen? So was it sent out for review? So if editor directly rejecting the paper, then consider changing the type of journal. If reviewers do not suggest changes, send it out quickly to another journal. So these are some parameters. Don't be upset or don't think about your work is not a valid work or the contribution is not a great. But rather than if the reviewers give some meaningful comments, try to update that one. And again, if the paper is rejected, try to find another journal which is suitable for our research work. That's what normally we do. So some tools mainly we used for literature review, mainly PubMed, some research rabbit, Grammarly for writing, then citation for Sotero. So here you can also can literature review. You can see Google Scholar. Elicit is very popular AI based tool. So everyone can explore that one. Also my students also using this Elicit. It's very popular. Then writing also Grammarly, Paperpal and Quillbot is very helpful. Then our ChatGPT is also use it in a proper way for improving our writing skill. But these days, most of the journals will ask for declaration statement. Like if you are using any of this tool in your paper, you have to declare that I used Grammarly or ChatGPT or Quillbot to improve the quality of writing. Then I manually checked the corrections and everything. So this type of statement should be included in your paper. These days, most of the journal ask for declaration about using the AI tools or some any other research tools. So for references, I also forgot to mention about EndNote. It's very powerful tool, but it's not open access. It's like it's not publicly available. You have to buy the software. This will help you to manage most of your references. So if you have your references only 30 or 40, you can manually manage. But if you are writing a review paper, or if you have references more than 100, then you have to use some of this tool to manage all your references. Then tools for researchers. So we are already discussed about EndNote and mentally for the reference management. So data analysis and visualization, Tableau is very popular. then Power BI, then MS Excel, and not taking like Evernote or OneNote, whatever some tools you can use. Then paper writing LaTeX. So this was I was telling previously. So it's an open software. You can easily use this LaTeX or using Overleaf also. You can align everything. You don't need to worry anything about the margin alignment or text width or anything. The LaTeX will do everything. So most of my students and I also, more than eight years, I was using LaTeX. It's very powerful, very useful, very effective. So I strongly recommend, if you have a plan to write a paper or documentation for your thesis also, try to learn the LaTeX and try to use it. Then literature review, we already discussed some of the tools you can see here. Research Rabbit, very popular. Then drawing. So drawing block diagram, Canva is very popular. You can think about that. Or I use also draw.io. It's also an open access tool, publicly available. You can use that for drawing all block diagram or chart and everything. So these are the some references I used, and I also took some slides from this link from the slide share. Some of the slides I took from here, and some of the textbooks, and some online materials also I used to prepare this presentation. So thank you for your attention. Yeah, you can ask any questions.
Yeah, hello, Dr. Alwin. It was really a fascinating experience, I would say. It was starting from the fundamental level, and we got to know the different titles, how to write, as well as the references, and it was really an enriching experience, especially for the students. So I think students have enjoyed a lot, and I think one chat box question is over there. Can you please just check the
Oh, sure.
same? Neha has written, I think.
So what was the sir? Are the criteria should be right for research? I mean, I didn't get that first question. What is that like criteria should be right for research paper writing? What is that mean? What are the criteria
Yeah,
or?
Sneha. Yeah, Sneha, can you just speak what you want to ask? Are you there in the call?
No, not Sneha. Before that one, Subhajit Kar asked
Subhajit.
one question. Yeah, but
Yeah, Subhajit, can you just unmute yourself and speak what you want to ask? Yeah, I can see Shubhajit is there. Yeah, Shubhajit, can you hear us? Yeah, he is
Yes, ma'am.
there in the call. Yes, yes. So what you want to ask, sir?
Sir, how can we write the research paper? Can we write in a research paper using Microsoft Word or any other
oh,
software?
the documentation. So okay. So now it's clear your question. So normally, what that's what I was explaining. I use the LaTeX. So if you just type in Google like LaTeX tool or Overleaf, you will get into that one. So I use that one rather than Microsoft. I very rarely use only Microsoft. Most of my documentation, thesis, paper writing, everything I use the LaTeX tool, LaTeX software. So that will do all alignment and everything, and most of the journals will also provide LaTeX template. So I use that one. I never use the document, but it's you have the freedom. It's not compulsory, but I do in a easy way rather than where documentation is takes a lot of time. The alignment, numbering, page number, bottom footer, text and everything. So it takes a lot of time. So that's why I in last 7 to 8 years I never used Word document. I use the LaTeX for all writing purpose.
Yeah, I think that is the best way out to write it very easily, right?
Very easily, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Otherwise, you have to spend a lot of time for the alignment, figure alignment, and font, text, and everything.
Yes, yes. Formatting there requires a lot of time
A lot of
for the
time.
same, right? Yes. And
Then,
Sneha has also asked one question. Can you please go through the same? Yeah. Am I audible to you? You're not audible, Dr. Alvin, to me?
no. It's okay. Now it's okay. Fine.
Yes, yes. Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Please.
So Sneha
Again,
was
it is not okay.
yeah, Sneha was
Hello?
asking. Hello. It's okay.
Yes, yes. Yes, now
I think
it's okay.
Sneha was asking. We want to read any type of research paper for knowing any topic. about our research, then how can we do that, and what are the resources for that? So mainly reading, the best simple method is like just go to Google Scholar and type the research word, research keyword. So you will get a list of papers. But these days my students using AI tool, so that's what I mentioned in the presentation, elicit. So if you go to that website and if you type the research word, they will suggest, the free version will suggest, I think, 10 papers, the most significant 10 papers, if I remember. I mean, the paid version will give more details, but free version also you can use. So there are so many AI tools to find the best research articles for you. So the idea is like if you use Google Scholar or Scopus or elsewhere some publisher resources, if you type the research word, they will check only the title. They do the similarity check with the title with your research keyword, and they will suggest the research article. But the AI tools, the currently the one my students were using, they will do the examining check with their contents also. So abstract or inside the introduction or inside the contents, they will do the similarity check with your research keyword search. Then they will suggest the paper. So that will be more effective than just normally typing some keywords in Google Scholar.
Yes, yes. I would like to request you, Dr. Elvin, to please share the link of the AI which our students can use. That will be very
Okay, okay.
helpful
I think
for
I
them.
will share in the.
Ma'am,
Yeah, Sneha wants to speak to sir.
yes,
Yes, Sneha, please go ahead.
ma'am. Sir, I have a question.
Sure, sure.
So, is coding is the very essential part in publishing research? Is it true or not?
So sorry, what was your point? Coding.
Yes, sir, coding.
Coding, it's see, it depends on the type of research what you are doing. So see, data science as a or computer science depends on the major. See, as a data science students, coding is the backbone. They have to do the coding. But see, if you are a biologist or chemistry major students, then the experiments are the main thing. So their way of doing everything is different. So it's only, I cannot give any general statement coding is very important, but I can say that it depends on your major, the research topics. Based on that only I can say coding is the most important things or not. But data analysis and visualization is equally important in any research domain, that I can say. So whatever, if you are working with the data, then analysis, so in that case also you need some basics coding and everything. So normally most of my students do data analysis and visualization using Python only, Python language. Or there is another tools also called Tableau. We have that tool we have to teach in our curriculum also. Our students are learning Tableau. Then similar Power BI. These are very popular data analysis and visualization tools. But if you are a computer science or some data science or something related to programming language majors, coding is very important.
Okay, thank you, sir.
The link I shared in
Okay.
the chat, you can check that one. So I think the free
Yes.
version has some limitations, but there are
Okay.
so many tutorials and everything. You can, it's like AI research assist.
Yeah, I think all students should copy and just preserve the link because since we are going through the phase of research paper writing, told by sir. And I will also like to request you, Dr. Alvin, to please share your PowerPoint if it is feasible. It will be very helpful for our students in
Oh,
writing the
sure,
research
sure, sure.
paper.
Yeah, I can share with you.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yes, yes. Please send me an email so that I will be sharing it with my students, especially the part I liked very much. Everything was summarized, the title, the abstract, and what the steps they should follow one by one in writing the research paper. And the most important thing is the difficult part is the discussion part, as you told. That will be very hard task for the students, especially the undergraduate ones. So it will be very nice if we have your PowerPoint presentation. It can serve as a guide for them to write the papers, right?
Sure, sure, sure. Then also I can, for an undergraduate student, I always encourage my students to think about a conference paper rather than aiming for a journal paper. So always keep
Yes.
in mind to write a conference paper with some, most probably, I prefer the IEEE indexed conference paper. So that will be Springer is also okay, but that your paper will be available in IEEE Explore. So that will be a good achievement during undergraduate time. So aim for some conference paper before graduation. That's what I can suggest. If you plan for higher studies, then or masters or PhD, then only the journal paper will comes to in your mind. But during undergraduate time, publishing a journal paper will be very challenging. And always keep in mind that better to avoid fake journals or some journals they don't have any reputation. So maximum, if you are publishing in that type of journal, that will completely spoil your future career also. So 1 second.
Definitely. I actually say prefer my students to go for Scopus or Web of Science. That will be helpful. I also had one question whether IEEE publishes only the engineering related papers or they publish the general science.
So that is also that engineering, mainly engineering. The main focus of IEEE is the engineering. So if a science, I think if it is a chemistry, royal chemistry or royal chemistry publication, or even biology, they have their own community. I mean, research community and publishing things are there. So in that case, like
in chemistry also we have.
Yes. So that is also another, depends on your research domain and research theme also. The place where you publish also different.
Yes, definitely, sir. Three of our students have also submitted. We are also going for the presentation by the students in the conferences so that they present the paper and get an exposure with the expert interaction. Then the same paper they will be writing for the conference proceedings. So we are also planning the same. And this workshop will be very helpful for those students who are in the team of our research work writing. So a big thank you to you, sir, from our entire Durgapur Government College family. As principal sir told, we will be having you definitely in person, and we are expecting to meet with you. You are such a wonderful person, I would say, and very student-friendly manner. You explained the things, and that was so nice of you. And you can see students have also enjoyed the lecture, and they were hooked up for 1.5 hours. So that was the best part of the lecture, I would say. It doesn't happen in so many lectures in our college. And the next thing is the say instruction for the students. I have also shared the feedback link. If you have any questions, you can just write. I will be communicating to sir. And also, if you have any other questions, you can just communicate to me. I will be sending sir by WhatsApp or by the email, and your answers will be there with you because sir is so friendly to ask any type of questions you have. So a big thank you to you, sir. And for getting the certificate, students must fill the feedback form. I will also share with you very shortly the certificate of appreciation, sir. And many thanks to you. We look forward to have many more sessions with you. Especially the thing what I liked was the say studying of the human behavior. That was very interesting. I'm really enchanted to hear any lecture on that. If you have any conference in your institution, do please share me with the link. It will be so nice. I will be happy to join. So,
Sure.
And
we will plan in the future.
yes, sir. And for the artificial intelligence and robotics, as we have discussed, we will be having a very interesting FDPs in January. So a big thank you to you, sir, with your kind permission. Can we wind up the session, sir?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you from the Durgapur Government College family. The session is officially winded up now. And this is not actually ending. We are beginning our collaboration with you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your kind cooperation. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.